Let's take a look at our Sensio Remote Control and the added features that this will bring to our chosen lighting. When offering a remote control, we gain access to features such as on and off, brightness adjustment, and if we are using a product such as CCT or RGB, it will also offer us the ability to change the colour of these lights. Now, there are many reasons that we would use a remote beyond just turning them on and off. If we look at the display behind me, remote controls allow for zonability. And what I mean by this, I can turn just my in-cabinet lighting on, I could turn maybe just my shelf lighting on, and depending on the feature or the product you are using, if it is a CCT product such as our shelf lights, we can also change the temperature and the ambience of that fitting. It's important to note at this point that receivers are always required when using a remote control. They essentially are the brain with which the remote talks to. So if we look at our receivers, you'll find 3 different types. Make sure you choose the one that is operational with the lighting you have chosen. Each of these receivers has a slightly different pin type on the output. This denotes the lighting that it will work with. Our 2-pin receiver is suitable for use with single colour, trio tone and duo range products. We do a CCT receiver, this is for use with 4-pin lights, and we also sell an RGB receiver, this is for use with our 6-pin components. It's important to mention that a receiver always operates with a Titan Plus driver. So regardless of whether I choose a single colour receiver or a CCT receiver, these are both operated via a Titan Plus. It is the receiver themselves that then convert the pin types to be suitable for the lights you have chosen. Let's take a look at how we pair our single colour receiver. To begin with, we have our Titan Plus driver. Now firstly, I take my receiver and connect this directly in to one of the ports found on the Titan Plus driver. You will see my green light on the receiver has now illuminated, and this means that the receiver is now receiving power from the driver. The next step is to take the light and connect this directly in to the block found on the receiver itself, and in doing so you will see the light now illuminates. Now, what we need to do is pair the receiver to the remote control. And to do this, we use the black match button found on the receiver itself. If I click the match button once, my green light on the receiver begins to flash. Hold down on zone 1 on the remote control, and you will see these are now paired. This will give me on and off of the lighting, and for a single colour product, it will also give me the ability to adjust the brightness up and down using the sundials found on the remote control. Let's take a look at how we pair our CCT receiver. Now, the CCT receiver will have been chosen if you are using any of our CCT or Pro lighting products. To pair the receiver, we have our Titan Plus driver, and we plug the receiver directly in to one of the inbuilt ports on the Titan Plus driver. You will see the green light has now illuminated. This is indicating the receiver is now receiving power from the driver. Next, we take the cable attached to our light and click this directly in to one of the ports found on the receiver block itself. It's important to note at this point that we always use a Titan Plus driver when operating with a receiver. This is because the Titan Plus driver has a 2-pin port for connection at the input, and at the output stage has a slightly wider 4-pin connection in order to operate the CCT products. In order to pair these products, what we would do is use the black match button found on the receiver itself. If I click the button, our green light begins to flash. I can then hold down on zone 1 directly on my remote control, and this completes the pairing process. This will then give me on and off, and because this is a CCT product, it will also give me the ability to automatically scroll through the entire white spectrum, everywhere from 2700 Kelvin, which is warm white, all the way through to 6000 Kelvin, which is cool white. As with any other operation with a remote, it gives me on and off. It also gives me the ability to adjust the brightness, but with it being the CCT receiver, it is the colour change it is achieving. let's take a look at how we pair our RGBCCT receiver. Now this receiver will only ever be chosen if you are operating our Polar RGBCCT flexible strip. To pair this product, all we need, our 2-pin Titan Plus driver, our RGBCCT receiver, and the strip light itself. To begin with, I take the receiver and connect this directly into one of the inbuilt ports on my Titan Plus driver. You will see my blue indicator light has now illuminated. This shows that the receiver is now receiving power from the driver. The next step, I take the cable on the light and connect this directly into the output on the receiver as such. What we then do, to pair the receiver to the remote control, I use the black match button found on the receiver itself. Click the button once and my indicator light begins to flash. Using the remote control, I hold down on zone 1. This then carries out the pairing, and now when I use my remote, I can turn my lighting on and off. But with this being an RGBCCT product, we then have 2 extra options. Firstly, I can turn them on and off. If I click CCT, I can now scroll through the full colour temperature of white, from cool white through to natural white and anywhere in between. If I use the RGB button, this will change the strip to our multicolour, and we now have anywhere from greens, blues, reds, pinks and yellows, and anywhere on the RGB spectrum. Now we're going to take a look at creating zones when using the remote control. The Universal Remote Control available through Sensio has zones 1, 2, 3 and 4. In this setup you can see that I have one of each of our receivers. We have a single colour receiver, a CCT receiver and our RGB receiver, all connected back to a Titan Plus driver as standard. What we can then do using the 1 to 4 zones is create individual control. The pairing process is the same as we have already run through, and I can click the pairing button on the receiver I wish to pair and click the zone I wish this to operate on. As I've just done here, I now have zone 1 connected to this receiver. If I repeat that for the other 2 receivers that we have here today, I can click the pairing button, place that one onto zone 2, which is now paired, and then again, I can click the pairing button, click number 3, and that is now paired. With the zoning buttons that we have available, I can operate individual zones via these buttons. I can hold down on zone 1, for example, and this will turn off zone 1. I could hold down on zone 3, and this will turn off zone 3. I can also then turn them back on with a simple tap. Should I want to just control all lighting, irrelevant of the zones that I've now created, the master power button at the top will operate all zones as one together. Now let's take a look at where zones can be used. In this kitchen behind me, we have 4 separate zones all being operated via our one remote control. On zone 1, we have a simple in-cabinet spotlight. On zone 2, we have a decorative shelf light. On zone 3, we have our under-cabinet task light, and on zone 4, we have our handle rail. Now zones are really important within the kitchen space because if I turn everything back on, this is full illumination. But on an evening, once I've finished cooking and I've finished in the kitchen, I might decide that I just want a decorative light to be shown. So I can turn everything back off, and then let's say I decide I just want the decorative shelf light to be illuminated, I can do so using zone 2.